Is it either win a World Series or the season is a failure?
That's a great question. It's a fantastic question. And my response to that is I would say the very next year, the rational answer to that has to be no, right? Because even though you get Shohei Ohtani, he's going to be DHing. He has been pitching a lot. He's been pitching to Glass now. He pitched to Yamamoto as far as the sales pitch to the Dodgers, but he's not going to be pitching, right? As far as how it'll be viewed by generally the fan base, yes, World Series or bust. But I look at it as this is a new era of Dodger baseball. And this era of Dodger baseball absolutely is World Series or bust. If that World Series comes next year, great. To me, with how unpredictable baseball is, I just want one World Series in a 162-game season with a parade. And this fan right here, I could die a happy man, right? I just want one of those in my lifetime. I've never experienced one of those, right? But I do think that this team, the way they're built, the way that Ohtani's contract is structured, if they win one and the confidence starts building and they start rolling, and that'll tell me that Ohtani's built for the postseason like we know he is. We saw what he did in the WBC. I could see this team becoming a dynasty. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the messages they sent by signing Ohtani is that, yes, you got the Yankees, you got the Cowboys, you got the Lakers, you got all these marquee franchises out there. The Dodgers are out there saying, look, we're either on their level already or we're in that very next tier with an opportunity to reach that level in the next decade. And I truly believe when you look at the history of this franchise, dating back to Brooklyn with all the legendary iconic teams, Jackie Robinson, Koufax, the Dodger Stadium, Tommy Lasorda, Vin Scully, this franchise with Ohtani and this group led by Andrew Friedman, they have a chance to truly have a dynasty, win 2 or 3 World Series titles, and then we're truly talking about this franchise as the preeminent franchise in Major League Baseball, the model franchise. And I truly believe that internally is the goal with Mark Walter and Andrew Friedman. The only thing I took away, Casey, from Ohtani's press conference, the only thing that really resonated with me, other than the fact his dog, his name is Decoy, I'll change my Twitter to decoy_LA. But look, the only thing that really resonated with me was in that pitch meeting with Ohtani, they said last 10 years, made the postseason, won multiple pennants, won the World Series in 2020. They considered that a failure. And every time the season ends and the Dodgers, if they get bounced in the first round like they did last couple years, or we saw it happen in 2018, 2019, everyone always feels like, oh, they want to win more than the Dodgers. It almost feels that way, right? Like, why aren't they firing this guy? Why aren't they? The Dodgers, I guarantee you, they want to win internally more than anyone does. So as far as next year, I wouldn't say it's World Series or bust. I would say it'd be disappointing. And I will say this, Casey, that if they flamed out with a healthy roster, then it's, as much as I love Dave Roberts, then it might be time to have the conversation of for the sake of change.
Yes,
because
correct. How
else would you save the narrative, right? But I would say it's era-based. Next 3 years, no World Series, or if they don't win a World Series with the primes of Freddie, Mookie, and Ohtani, then I say it was a bust.
Yep. And if you do win a World Series, the reason why I think you could win 3, maybe even upwards to 4 World Series is because the reasons why you would win that World Series are going to be in this organization for long periods of time, right?
For sure. I mean, you still have, if there's Freddie Freeman, I always say he's baseball's version of fine wine. He is literally statistically getting better with age. If you look at his pregame routine, I'm so excited to see these guys on the same field at the same time. I think that Ohtani is going to really appreciate playing alongside Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and how routine-based they are, because he's very routine-oriented himself. And these guys are all consummate professionals. They know at this point, Casey, that they've won MVPs. They've been all-stars. All that's left is to pad their resumes with World Series titles. I think Mookie, he wants to shed a little bit of this, okay, I'm Mr. August and not Mr. October. I think Freddie Freeman wants to say, I want to stick it to the Braves and win a World Series with the Dodgers, right? I want to see Freddie win an MVP next year and win a couple World Series and go into the Hall of Fame as a Dodger, right? I have lofty goals for this group. And I think the most important thing is, you mentioned the Sweeney trade earlier. That's why I love this organization, and I appreciate what they do, is because they're thinking of long-term depth. They saw what Ohtani wasn't able to do playing alongside the best player of his generation, Mike Trout. They know that they aren't going to stand a chance unless they hit on guys on the margins. And as you mentioned, as one of your reasons why you think this team could form a dynasty, because you got all these players locked up, also, you're going to get those ring chasers, right? You're going to get guys on one-year deals like JD Martinez last year that wouldn't otherwise, because they know LA is where it's at. But I do just I'm curious to see, what is your response to that? Do you think it's World Series or bust next year?
Oh, I don't think next year, I think they need to make the World Series, no doubt, just for the simple fact that they're going to be the best team in the National League, right? If everybody does exactly what the best they can do next year, they're in the World Series. Now, I don't know how good the Yankees are going to be, that kind of thing, but definitely I think it's a major disappointment if you don't make the World Series next year. Am I off?
I do. Look, it'll be a disappointment for sure, right? But I think, like you said, if you could make the World Series, just think about how electric that would be in general. I'll say this. I will say this out there, Casey. Let me just put this out there. I'm not worried about the World Series next year. If they get past the NLDS and the NLCS with Shohei Ohtani, they're winning that damn World Series, right?
Yeah,
I worry about the NLDS because that is when the margins for error. That's when you get the 5-day layoff, and that's when teams can come in hot, sneak up on you. All the pressure starts mounting. You feel the tension in Dodgers Stadium, and then before you know it, it's a 2-0 series. Then you're on the road, and things happen, and the game moves so quickly in the NLDS that with the deeper teams don't have as much of an advantage. Dodgers are a deep team. You get past the NLDS, I like my chances even more. You get past the NLCS, we ain't losing the World Series. I'll just tell you that right now. Ohtani is not going to get to that mountaintop and not perform. You've watched baseball your whole life. You know that this is the guy that I've never seen as far as the fire each and every pitch, the attention to detail each and every pitch. I love what Friedman said at his press conference, that just kind of looking back at him, there were games where the Angels were up big, still was taking every single pitch, running out ground balls to try to get singles, even when they were down big. So I think that that's going to be infectious, and I think that having Ohtani's going to free up some things for Mookie and Freddie. And I also think that from a pressure standpoint, him being the face of this organization, he's just going to have such a positive impact on all of his teammates. And look, let's be honest. Last year's team, they had a lot of stars, right? This team now, they're a phenomenon. This is a rock star team. Like you saw with Coach Prime in Colorado, where people didn't watch college football. They tuned in for that. You're going to see that with this Dodger team. That's the magnitude of Shohei Ohtani.
No doubt about it. And also, the reason why you can't ever say not winning a World Series is a failure, because I don't think people understand just how ridiculously hard, and actually you have to have a certain amount of good fortune to actually win a title. So I don't ever consider just not winning the title ever a failure.